Hi, I'm Blakely Dunn, and I'm here to welcome you to my Beat the Binge group. I've created this group to hopefully be able to teach people what I have done to overcome binge eating. So in order for me to even begin the steps, I am going to take you back, and tell you a bit of my story. Some of you may know bits and pieces from following me, but it actually goes pretty deep, all the way to my childhood. My parents were vegetarians up until I was 6 years old. And at the age of 3, I can specifically remember not necessarily craving, but pretending that I was eating a hamburger that the people in the rest at McDonald's were eating as I bit into my apple pie. And it created an early obsession with food for me. There are pictures of me up from 3 to on up with just bags, the huge bags of Ruffles potato chips and a 2 liter of Pepsi, and I would just carry it around and eat it. At a very, very young age, I can remember gorging on these little jarred mushrooms and then vomiting. Not making myself vomit, but I'd just eaten too much and my body said, So I know that was the early beginnings of this, and I know very well, we get taught and programmed into our brain that binge eating stems from emotional eating, and I do believe it does in some cases, but none of that was emotional. That was just me wanting to be like somebody else, basically. So fast forward, though, and this is where the emotional comes in, to the age of 10, 11, 12, on up through high school. I was a latchkey kid. My parents worked a full-time job, and they were very, very busy. They worked long hours, so I would come home from work. From school, I had a key, even at 10 years old, and I would let myself in. And I'm an only child, and loneliness would set in, and I would eat anything I could get my mouth on. We did not have a stove, so that even further contributed to the addiction, I think, and the cycle, because everything I ate was processed. It would either be TV dinners, these little French fries that I could make in the microwave. God, I love those things. God, I loved those things. I would dip them in mayonnaise, and I would eat carton after carton of them. I can so remember that. Ruffles and cheese dip, watching Punky Brewster, again, drinking Coke, and then my parents would come home, and then they would cook dinner, and I would eat whatever dinner was, even if I wasn't hungry. And I can remember also my parents, they fought a lot, and I'm sure that a lot of you guys watching this probably dealt with this as well, or some version of it. And as an only child, I didn't have anybody to look to when my parents were fighting, because I didn't have somebody to talk to about it in the home, so I would eat. Or once I did meet some friend or make some friendships, I had a best friend that lived across the street. And I would go to her house and tell her parents what were going on. And because they loved me and wanted to make me feel better, they would feed me ice cream. And so that's what tied into or created the emotional eating aspect of it. The same best friend was 3 years older than me. And around the time of maybe I can't remember if I was 13 or she was 13, but the obsession with your body weight started. Actually, caring on whether or not you looked good. And I always looked up to her, and she always had she was taller, she had the flat stomach, she had these long legs, and she started getting breasts, and I hadn't, and here I was, this dumpy little boy. That's how I felt then. And so I would binge eat, and then she even introduced me to vomiting. I can specifically remember us laying out in my backyard and us both at the same time together trying to vomit, because that's what's going to make you skinny, is this way you can eat whatever you want. Like, literally, that's what we were told. She was told, passed it on to me. Fortunately for both of us, I'm pretty sure at this point, that never stuck with her. And for me, I know it just didn't, because it took too damn long to vomit everything up in my stomach, and I hated it, and it was gross, and it never stuck for me. This is why I was diagnosed, we're going to fast forward, at the age of 24 with binge eating disorder and not bulimia. The methods that I'm going to teach you or tell you that worked for me, they can go hand in hand in some cases with bulimia. I don't know anything about anorexia. And if that's your issue, then we should chat a little bit one-on-one. But I don't feel like this method that I have will help you. It may, but I don't know enough about it, to be honest with you. So anyway, somewhere around 24 years old, I was diagnosed with very high cholesterol. And so my doctor put me on a low-fat diet. He gave me a specific amount of fat grams to eat a day. And this started an obsession for me that was insane, of counting calories, counting how much fat I was eating every single day. And it was a constant in my brain. There was no thoughts of anything else. There was no thoughts of my future. There was no thoughts even, I would be at work brushing dogs. I worked in a kennel at the time. And all my brain would be thinking about was what I ate, what's upstairs to eat, because they would bring freaking bagels and stuff every day. How can I avoid eating the bagels? It became an obsession for me that I could not live daily life. It was almost as soon as I started the counting. And so, like, I would eat breakfast and I would plan every single meal, low-fat stuff, which was also really awful, to be honest with you, because he wasn't teaching me about nutrition or clean eating or what's right to put in my body. He just said low-fat. So I'm buying low-fat everything, which triggers binging even more. We'll get into that later. But I would go upstairs in our break room and I would see all these bagels after breakfast, and I would literally go into the bathroom. And there was a bathroom there where you could see from your right below your waist, about right at your crotch area, up. And I would go in and I would pull my shirt up and I would turn and look at myself. And I'm like, okay, I don't really look that fat today. So I would go in there and I would eat a whole bagel. Then I would go back in the bathroom, look at myself. And then I would be like, God, I'm so fat. I'm so fat. And I would eat another bagel. And then lunch would end. I'm like, fuck it. I fucked up. Let's just eat whatever, So I ended up being in such a bad state with that I contacted my best friend one night, about 9 o'clock at night, bawling my eyes out. She and I went riding around in my car so I could talk about it. And then I called my doctor, the same one that said I needed to eat a low-fat diet. Because, long story short, we have a personal relationship too. That's a whole other story. But I told him what was going on. So he told me to come into his office. We made an appointment, and I came, and he told me I had a form of obsessive compulsive disorder called binge eating disorder. He set me up with a therapist, or told me to find therapy and put me on Zoloft. The Zoloft worked actually very well. The obsession kind of disappeared for me for quite some time until I quit taking it. I never felt the need to up it or anything like that, but I quit taking it for personal reasons. I went to a therapist one time. Problem was I didn't have health insurance and I couldn't afford therapy. On top of that, I've never been a person to not talk about my issues, and I just didn't feel like it was the right place for me. The lady was nice, and she never even talked about what my problem was. On top of that aggravated me. Like, can we talk about what's going on right now? So anyway, I felt like I was wasting my money, so I never went back. So this is at 24. Fast forward 10 years, and I'm struggling. I'm struggling with binge eating, not binge eating, dieting, restricting calories, the whole shebang, and then binge eating. And there's just this cycle you go through. You're like, I'm going to be good today. I ate a donut. Fuck it, I fucked up. I'm going to eat another donut. And then I'm going to stop at McDonald's. And then maybe possibly get some ice cream at Sonic. And then I'm going to drink this whole Diet Coke and save about 300 calories from it. It's awful. It's just not a way to live. It's not a way to live. So at the age of, let's see, how am I? 37. So 33, I happened across all these posts on social media about accountability. Come to find out, this ability that people were referring to was basically challenge groups with Beachbody. And I watched these people and talked to people for quite a long time before I decided to dive in, and I created my own accountability group. And I'm gonna tell you what, it's the first time I ever really conquered binge eating. The first time, besides the Zoloft. And I had a coworker that was teaching me about clean eating. I never met that concept, and so I went into not counting calories, but watching what I ate basically, but eating what I wanted as long as it was not processed crap. So honestly, that was the best I'd ever felt. Then I think I started struggling again somewhere towards the end of that. And then I started the 21-day fix. The 21-day fix, it was pretty amazing for those 3 weeks. I had no urges. I had no binges. I'm not sure the first time if I cheated or not. At this point, it was a long time ago. I don't remember. I lost 8 pounds. Everything was great. Well, Miss Blakely forgot to do, or didn't even think about the fact, or didn't read. I don't know. You're supposed to recalculate for maintenance, which means I would eat more, typically. After you've maintained you're at your goal weight, you need to eat more calories. And the reason why is exactly what happened to me. And it's also what happened to a lot of my challengers because I did not tell them correctly. My body, and this is the science part of this and why it's not just emotional eating. My body started going, hey, bitch, you're working out at home on your own programs and you're teaching at least 4 classes a week and you're only eating 1,300 calories. Hello. And so my brain starts sending me these urges to stuff my face. And you can't ignore those that long when you're for real legit freaking starving yourself. So I ended up binging. And I didn't realize what was happening at the time. I don't remember a timeline as to when I did finally, I think it was when I gained back the weight I lost when I started looking into it and realized that I completely messed up. So I did jump back into the 21-day fix and then lost the weight again. And then I kind of want to punch myself while I'm sitting here talking to y'all because instead of recalculating for maintenance, I decided to do the countdown to competition meal plan. So the countdown to competition meal plan is 21-day fix extreme, and in this meal plan, and I'm running out of minutes on my video, in this meal plan you carb cycle. It's only supposed to be for 3 weeks. The book says only do it for 3 weeks. I had phenomenal results. Only time in my life I've ever had a 6-pack. I felt amazing. I had no urges to binge, no cravings. So guess what Blakely decided to do? She decided to experiment for the next year and continue to do the countdown to competition meal plan. So by the time me and my boyfriend moved in together, who ate like crap then, I was binge eating again. Hence, here comes some more yo-yo. So I gained all the weight back and then the shame kicked in. So then I happened across this book, Brain Over Binge, and I realized I had to do something. So I read this book. The first time it kind of soaked in, but I didn't completely soak in, and I ended up having to read it again. I ended up reading the book twice, apart from, it wasn't like back to back. The second time I did it, I created a group with some people to just discuss. It was just to talk about what we're reading. The concept of this book, I can't, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not any of that stuff. So please know that I'm not going to sit here and be able to diagnose you. All I could do is share with you my experiences in hopes that it will help you. We can chat back and forth, and if I think you need to see someone, I will tell you for sure. But I want to, over the next couple days, talk about what I learned from this book and how I implemented it. And I'm going to get raw and real. Some of this stuff might be emotional for you. Some of this stuff may be emotional for me because I'm in a place now that I am not binge eating, and I haven't for a very long time. And the freedom of that is something I just want everybody to feel. And what I plan on doing tomorrow is making a video that talks about basically the first step with how to overcome, and that is recognizing that you actually have binge eating disorder. I don't think you need a doctor to diagnose that personally. So anyway, is that my story? I think that's most of my story. I can tell you that the true conquer of binge eating for me not only came from reading this book, but it came from implementing the practices of this book for a full year. So I don't want you to feel like this is something that you're going to conquer in 5 days, because that's not what's fixing to happen. I plan on leaving this group open, maybe even rerunning it every now and then, just so we can support each other and talk to each other about the goings on. So feel free to message me, contact me, comment below these videos every day. Introduce yourself, tell us who you are, where you're from, all those type of things. I do not expect you to get deep down and personal like I am, unless you want to. If you want to, feel free to. I can tell you that has been probably the key in me beating this situation, is being not afraid to talk about it. And knowing that me talking about it will help other people. And to know there's nothing to be ashamed of. It is legit an addiction. All right, guys. I hope you enjoy the next 5 days.